The Lamborghini Miura is a sports car that was produced by Italian automaker Lamborghini between 1966 and 1973. The car is widely considered to have instigated the trend of high-performance, two-seater, mid-engine sports cars. When released, it was the fastest production road car available. The Miura was originally conceived by Lamborghini's engineering team, who designed the car in their spare time against the wishes of company founder Ferruccio Lamborghini. He preferred powerful yet sedate grand touring cars, rather than the racecar-derived machines produced by local rival Ferrari. The Miura's rolling chassis was presented at the 1965 Turin Auto Show, and the prototype P400 debuted at the 1966 Geneva Show, to stellar receptions from showgoers and motoring press alike. Both were impressed by Marcello Gandini's sleek styling and the car's revolutionary mid-engine design. As Lamborghini's flagship car, the Miura received periodic updates and remained in production until 1973, and was not replaced in the automaker's lineup until the Countach entered production in 1974, amid tumultuous financial times for the company. Development. During 1965, Lamborghini's three top engineers, Gianpaolo Dallara, Paolo Stanzini, and Bob Wallace put their own time into developing a prototype car known as the P400. The engineers envisioned a road car with racing pedigree, a Euro 1 which could win on the track and be driven on the road by enthusiasts. The three men worked on its design at night, hoping to convince Lamborghini such a vehicle would neither be too expensive nor distract from the company's focus. When finally brought aboard, Lamborghini gave his engineers a free hand in the belief the P400 was a potentially valuable marketing tool, if nothing more. The car featured a transversely mounted mid-engine layout, a departure from previous Lamborghini cars. The V12 was also unusual in that it was effectively merged with a transmission and differential, reflecting a lack of space in the tightly wrapped design. The rolling chassis was displayed at the Turin Salon in 1965. Impressed showgoers placed orders for the car despite the lack of a body to go over the chassis. Baton was placed in charge of styling the prototype, which was finished just days before its debut at the 1966 Geneva Motor Show. Curiously, none of the engineers had found time to check if the engine fit inside its compartment. Committed to showing the car, they decided to fill the engine bay with ballast and keep the hood locked throughout the show, as they had 3 years earlier for the dark copyright butt of the 350 GTV. Sales head Scazzi was forced to turn away members of the motoring press who wanted to see the P400's powerplant. Despite this setback, the car was the highlight of the show, immediately boosting stylist Marcello Gandini's reputation. The favorable reaction at Geneva meant the P400 was to go into production by the following year. The name Miura, a famous type of fighting bull, was chosen, and featured in the company's newly created badge. The car gained the worldwide attention of automotive enthusiasts when it was chosen for the opening sequence of the original 1969 version of the Italian Job. In press interviews of the time, company founder Ferruccio Lamborghini was reticent about his precise birth date, but stressed that he was born under the star sign Taurus the Bull. Production history P400 Early Miuras, known as P400s, were powered by a version of the 3.9L Lamborghini V12 engine used in the 400 GT at the time, only mounted transversely and producing 350 picoseconds. Exactly 275 P400 were produced between 1966 and 1969, a success for Lamborghini despite its then steep price of $20,000. Taking a cue from the Morris Mini, Lamborghini formed the engine and gearbox in one casting. Its shared lubrication continued until the last 96 SVs, when the case was split to allow the correct oils to be used for each element. An unconfirmed claim holds the first 125 Miuras were built of 0.9 mm steel and are therefore lighter than later cars. All cars had steel frames and doors, with aluminum front and rear skin body sections. When leaving the factory they were originally fitted with Pirelli Cinturato 205 VR15 tires. Awards: the Miura won the prestigious Gran Turismo Trophy at the 2008 Pebble Beach Concours d'Elegance, and has been recreated for use in the Gran Turismo 5 video game. P400S equals. The P400S Miura, also known as the Miura S, made its introduction at the Turin Motor Show in November 1968, where the original chassis had been introduced 3 years earlier. It was slightly revised from the P400, with the addition of power windows, bright chrome trim around external windows and headlights, new overhead inline console with new rocker switches, engine intake manifolds made 2 mm larger, different camshaft profiles, and notched trunk end panels. Engine changes were reportedly good for an additional 20 picoseconds. Other revisions were limited to creature comforts, such as a locking glove box lid, a reversed position of the cigarette lighter and windshield wiper switch, and single-release handles for front and rear body sections. Other interior improvements included the addition of power windows and optional air conditioning, available for $800. About 338 P400S Miura were produced between December 1968 and March 1971. 1S number 4407 was owned by Frank Sinatra. Miles Davis also had one, which he crashed in October 1972 under the influence of cocaine, breaking both ankles. P400SV equals. The last and most famous Miura, the P400SV or Miura SV, featured different cam timing and altered carburetors. These gave the engine an additional 15 picoseconds, to 385 picoseconds. The last 96 SV engines had a split sump. The gearbox now had its lubrication system separate from the engine, which allowed the use of the appropriate types of oil for the gearbox and the engine. This also alleviated concerns that metal shavings from the gearbox could travel into the engine with disastrous and expensive results, and made the application of an optional LSD far easier. The SV can be distinguished from its predecessors from its lack of eyelashes around the headlamps, wider rear fenders to accommodate the new 9-inch wide rear wheels and Pirelli Cinturato tires, and different taillights. 150 SVs were produced. There was a misprint in the SV owner's manual indicating bigger intake valves in English size. The intake and exhaust valves in all 4-liter V12 Lamborghini remained the same throughout all models. This intake size misprint carried forward into a Spada 400 GT and Countach LP400/LP400S owners' manuals as well. P400 Jota equals. In 1970, Lamborghini development driver Bob Wallace created a test mule that would conform to the FIA's Appendix J racing regulations. The car was appropriately named the Miura Jota. Wallace made extensive modifications to the standard Miura chassis and engine. Weight reductions included replacing steel chassis components and body panels with the lightweight aluminium alloy avianal and replacing side windows with plastic, with the resulting car weighing approximately 800 pounds less than a production Miura. A front spoiler was added and the headlights were replaced with fixed, fed-in units. Wallace substituted 2 smaller, sill-mounted fuel tanks for the single larger original unit. The suspension was reworked and wider, lightweight wheels were fitted. The engine was modified to produce 418 to 440 bhp at 8800 rpms, with an increased compression ratio, altered cams, electronic ignition, dry sump lubrication, and less restrictive exhaust system. This single example was eventually sold to a private buyer after extensive testing. In April 1971, the car crashed on the yet unopened ring road around the city of Brescia, and burned to the ground. It was once widely believed that the Jota had the chassis number of number 5084, it has been clarified by Miura expert Joe Sacchi in his book The Lamborghini Miura Bible that this is not the case, and that number 5084 is in fact a factory-modified SV to SVJ spec. This fact has also been confirmed in the massive and long-running Miura thread on the Lamborghini section of www.ferraricat.com. A recreation of the Jota was later undertaken by Chris Lawrence of Wymondham Engineering for Lamborghini owner Piet Pulford from the United Kingdom on chassis number 3033. P400 SVJ equals. There are 7 examples of the Miura SVJ known to be built by the factory while the Miura was still in production, 2 were built new and 5 were converted from existing SVs. One of these cars, chassis number 4934, was built for the Shah of Iran Mohammad Reza Pahlavi. The Shah stored this car under armed guard with another SV in Royal Palace in Tehran. After he fled the country during the Iranian Revolution, his cars were seized by the Iranian government. The SVJ was sold into Dubai in 1995. In 1997 this car was sold in a Brooks auction to Nicolas Cage, at $490,000, becoming the model's highest ever price at auction. Cage sold the car in 2002. Higher prices have been reached several times since then, including by SVJ number 4892 selling for over $1.9 million. Of the 7 known original cars, number 4892 is a recent addition to the list of known genuine SVJs, with factory documentation now having come to light. An 8th SVJ was built at the Lamborghini factory between 1983 and 1987 from an unused Miura S chassis. This was made for Jean-Claude Mimran, one of the Mimran brothers, the then owner of Lamborghini. Most experts do not recognize this as an official SVJ due to it being converted long after the Miura went out of production. Further Miuras were subsequently upgraded to SVJ specifications by various garages of Switzerland, USA and Japan. Roadster =. Another one-off, the Miura Roadster was built by Bertone as a show car. Based on a P400, it was first shown at the 1968 Brussels Auto Show. After having been exhibited at several auto salons, the car was sold to the international lead zinc research organization, who turned it into a display vehicle showcasing the possibilities of using zinc alloys in cars. The car was named the ZN75. A few other Miuras have had their tops removed, but this Bertone Miura Roadster was the only factory open-top Miura. In 2006 the ZN75 was purchased by New York City real estate developer Adam Gordon. Gordon had Bobi-Lef Motor Cars in San Diego, California return the car to its original Bertone Roadster form. The restored car was first shown in August 2008 at the Pebble Beach Concours d'Elegance. The one-of-a-kind Miura Roadster was shown at the Amelia Island Concours d'Elegance in 2013. P400 SVJ Spider =. This one-off example of the Miura was displayed at the 1981 Geneva Motor Show with other new Lamborghini models shortly after new company CEO Patrick Mimran took over the factory, although it was never a factory-authorized model and modifications. Finished in pearl white, the SVJ Spider was the formerly yellow Miura S presented at the 1981 Geneva Motor Show, and uses chassis number 4808 equipped with wide wheels and a rear wing reflecting the marque's revival. It was wrongly considered by some as a prototype for a possible limited series of Miura Spider, whereas in fact it was simply a one-off show car constructed on behalf by the Swiss Lamborghini importer Lambo Motor AG. Subsequently bought by Swiss Lamborghini collector Jean Wicki, the car had its rear wing and chin spoiler removed and was painted silver, bringing the car's style closer to the Berlinetta SVJ. Lamborghini specialist Auto Rome purchased the car from Wicki and restored its bodywork and upholstery in partnership with Carrosserie Lecoq. Painted traditional Miura lime green, the car was eventually sold to a Parisian collector. The car has stiffness issues and does not drive that well. It's also not that well received by the general Miura cognoscenti who post on VLG and also on the world's longest running and largest Miura debate, which is on FCHAT. Other than private modifications, there are only 2 open Miuras, officially presented in international motor shows, the Bertone Miura Roadster, exhibited on Bertone's own stand at Bruxelles in 1968, and this non-factory example, shown on the Lamborghini stand at the Geneva Motor Show in 1981. 2006 Miura Concept. A Miura concept car was presented at the American Museum of Television and Radio on January 5, 2006 alongside the Los Angeles Auto Show, though it was not present at the show itself. Instead, the Miura concept car officially debuted at the North American International Auto Show 2 weeks later. It was the first design to be penned by Lamborghini design chief, Walter De Silva, commemorating the 40th anniversary of the 1966 Geneva introduction of the original Miura. Lamborghini president and CEO Stefan Winkelmann denied that the concept would mark the Miura's return to production, saying "The Miura was a celebration of our history, but Lamborghini is about the future. Retro design is not what we are here for. So we want a Euro unregistered trademark to do the Miura Euro." Specifications. See also, Ferrari Daytona, Maserati Ghibli, Isa Griffo. References. External links, Lamborghini Miura technical reference.